Thanks for staying with Benchmark. We now continue with our exclusive interview with Prakash Shafter. So would we be right in saying that the insurance market is fiercely competitive and that pricing is under pressure? Is there a price war on?
I would say it is not competitive, it has always been competitive. It's just that the extent of competition keeps increasing year on year. The answer is yes. We have 21 players in the market. That is a large number of insurers for a market which is as small as ours. In this environment, you do have new players who come in and then in an effort to gain market share, reduce rates. Sometimes these rate reductions are uneconomical, but there is a learning curve. And the learning curve would mean that they go through a 3-year cycle possibly before they realize that rates are low and increase it. But sometimes the damage has been done. Because in an ever competitive market, you do not want to lose market share, and if somebody else drops rates, you look at ways and means of how you can drop rates and retain your business or increase market share. So there is, however, a positive to this, is that the consumer benefits. The consumer benefits from increased choice, meaning number of insurers to whom he can go to, plus lower rates. But insurance is something which cannot be looked at only from a lower rate scenario. Because the fundamental of insurance is that we are providing protection. And if we are providing protection, we as insurers have to be secure. If business is underwritten at rates which are not competitive, the security of the insurer himself would be threatened. So one has got to always bear that in mind, and even the consumer, when he is selecting an insurer, has to be aware that there is more to the selection process than price alone. You have to look at the security and the stability of the insurer, and eventually the ability of the insurer to pay claims when crunch time arises.
Prakash, SLIC's market share is thought to be something between 20 to 25%, and of course there is that compulsory diktat that all state-owned enterprises must insure with SLIC. In this context, is the insurance industry a level playing field?
You virtually answered the question yourself, but left it unanswered. The Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation and the National Insurance Trust Fund, both of which are state-owned entities, have a monopoly on government business. Now, in a country such as Sri Lanka, the government business accounts for a fairly large proportion of the business that is available to other insurers so that they could compete and get it. Now, mind you, historically it was only reserved for the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation and the National Insurance Corporation. This was changed, if I am not mistaken, in the year 2001, when state sector business was open to private sector for bidding. And this continued for about 10 years. Unfortunately, when the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation was reverted back to the state, the government, for some unknown reason, took the decision again that state sector business will not be permitted for private sector insurers to insure. So to that extent, we do not have a level playing field. I am hopeful, however, that the position will be changed at least somewhere down the line.
Prakash, you spoke of savings-linked insurance products. Now, as a nation, our national savings percentage of household when you taken against household income is still around 10%, which is relatively low. So how can we as a nation inculcate the so-called savings habit among our people? Are the authorities, that's banks and financial institutions, the state, doing enough to make sure that Sri Lankans save more?
I think the lack of savings in Sri Lanka is a lot to do with our culture. We are an island. We have a laid-back culture, very easygoing, which is great. But the flip side of it is that when it comes to savings, life insurance, etc., there is a lack of it. One of the reasons for our lack of penetration as far as life insurance goes, again, is our culture. I probably am not the most competent person to tell you as to who should do what, but I can confirm that there is a lot to be done to inculcate the savings habit, and that all of us as corporates, whether it's insurance companies, banks, the government, all of us have a duty to educate the public on the need to save and for us to build up the savings awareness habit amongst the public.
We're seeing a rapid pace in infrastructure development, Prakash. What is the impact that is having on the insurance industry, whether you look at the Hambantota port or the mega city project in Colombo? How are these infrastructure projects impacting the bigger picture of the insurance industry?
The fact that the country's infrastructure is being developed is a very good thing. It's long overdue because Sri Lanka's infrastructure lags behind its requirements. So it's welcome to see all the work that is going on, whether it be roads, bridges, other facilities, power, all of this you can see something happening. From an insurance perspective, there is an advantage in that more infrastructure would in the longer term or in the medium term lead to more business, and therefore there would be more premiums available for the insurance companies to underwrite. The downside, if I may put it, on the infrastructure side from an insurance perspective is that most of the infrastructure is tendered by government bodies. Here you have the SLIC and the NITF, which are the two state players. They have a right to the business, and we as private insurers cannot tender for the business. So we are effectively locked out.
That was Prakash Shafter. The Voice of Business is up next, but first, some messages from our sponsors.